Hey everybody, welcome to the mortgage market. I'm Derek LeVay, and as always, we're going to keep this video short, a couple of minutes. So what I want to talk about this week is rates and what they've done, and then something that might make your loan process go a little smoother. So in the past week, we had a pretty decent dip in the rates, and that was due to all the conflict that was going on in Korea. Over the past 2 days, now that it's de-escalated slightly, we've seen a very quick turnaround. So good news is no more conflict escalation with Korea. For the rates, that's bad news, but again, we're at all-time lows, so that's something we're going to want to push. Who knows what's going to happen in the next week or so? Maybe, a little bit more conflict will help to drive the rates back down. So make sure you keep your buyers engaged, and same thing for a listing. Rates go up, values are going to come down a little bit. Now, as far as what we can do to make the loan process smoother, I want to first start by saying, in the real world, you're innocent until proven guilty. Well, when it comes to underwriting, you're guilty until proven innocent. So you have to remember that when they underwrite a file, they're not looking specifically at Mr. Jones. They're looking at just the data and what they have in front of them as a forensic type review. So in 2 years, when someone picks up the file and takes a look at it and says, hey, what's this deposit? They're not going to be able to go to your loan officer and say, hey, Joe, what's this deposit? So they're going to need to have all proof for every single thing. If you have the knowledge going into it that you need to prove yourself, almost like a job interview, you wouldn't go to an interview saying, oh, I have this job, why are you asking me these silly questions? You'd go in there and you'd answer every single question so you can get the job. That's how you're going to feel when you go through this process with underwriting. Now, there's a couple of things you can do document-wise to make your life easier. First one that I suggest everyone always does is keep a file of everything that you've sent in. Keep it somewhere in your house, kind of readily available, and I'll tell you why. We live in a digital world. You give me paper, I'm going to convert it over to something digital and send it in. Now, if you fax it, it's coming over the same way. With PDFs, sometimes they become corrupt, you can't open them. I've worked at a couple of different places, and some of them don't name the PDF, it's just by numbers, and if you have, 800 items in the folder, it's kind of hard to get to it, so sometimes it's just easier to say, do you have that W-2 again? Do you have that letter of explanation? And it'll be easier if you just said, okay, I have everything in one location. They've already asked me for this. Let me grab it and send it in. It's a little bit of a pain, but yes, unfortunately, with technology, there are sometimes downsides. You're not going to just readily have it available. The other thing you can do is never just send anything directly to processing without also getting your loan officer involved in that email or faxing it to your loan officer and letting them follow it. Any good loan officer is going to do what I do and keep a separate digital file. That way, if the processor is out or they can't find it, we're going to have a copy of it also. Another thing you can do is when you're sending in the documents, if they come over blurry or if part of the page is cut off and it can't be read, so your W-2 is missing the first half of your first name. I know in normal world you're thinking, well, it's me, I sent it to you, but they can't look at it like that because it's not clear. So it's almost like when you're in court, if you have evidence that isn't clear, it's probably not going to count, they're going to throw it out. Same thing in my world. If I can't read something or something's blurry, it's not going to count. Which leads me to my biggest pet peeve, which is the bank account. When I ask for a statement, if there's 6 pages and 2 of them say intentionally left blank and you don't send them to me because there's no information, in my world, that is almost as if you're hiding something from us. The underwriters have to assume that those intentionally left blank pages that you don't have in there show information like a loan we don't know about or a big withdrawal that happened or a deposit that happened, and you're purposely keeping it out. Again, I know this sounds like common sense to most people because most people aren't doing anything wrong, but 1 or 2 bad apples ruin the pie for everybody. The last thing you can do is not really fight back with when they're asking for certain things. If it's something that's a little bit ridiculous, yes, but if it's easy and it's easily attained, sometimes just getting it and sending it in is going to make your process a lot smoother. Your loan officer is also going to be the person you're going to want to go to to ask, hey, do I really need to give this? So if you're dealing with a processor most of the time, which is what happens, you'll deal with the loan officer and then the processor. If you think it's a little off base or you think it might be a problem, talk to your loan officer, get an understanding as to what's going on, and then if he says, hey, yeah, we're definitely going to need it, send it. I get that question a lot around small things like, what is this address? The underwriter's asking you about an address that's on your credit report. Same thing if there's a verification of your name. Maybe it was spelt wrong, or, maybe there's someone who has the similar name and at a different address. The reason they ask these questions is so they know, okay, someone looks at this file a year later, 2 years later, sees an address and says, okay, this person says they have no ownership in this address. But if we didn't have that explanation and you did have ownership in it and then the loan defaulted, well, that's our fault for not asking, and then it becomes an issue down the road. So don't fight the small stuff. Make sure all your documents are sent in and are legible, and always keep a file. If you do those couple of items, your loan process will be a lot smoother. I want to thank everybody for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Please like and subscribe, and as always, if you want to talk about a specific topic, put it in the comments below or reach right out, and we'll gladly make that video. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.